Hello and welcome back. So this is going to be a review video on the Natasha Denona Mini Star Palette. I was so excited for this palette because if there is one Natasha Denona palette I have wanted, it was the original Star palette. But it's $169. I just could not bring myself to do that. So when I saw that this was coming out for holiday, I wanted it so bad and I was so excited about it. But I will go ahead and say that I have returned the palette. I still want to do this review, and I just want to say that I know a lot of people are against returning makeup, and I do not do it very often. This is the first thing I've returned in all of 2018. The last thing I returned was a foundation in 2017 that broke me out, so I felt like that was legitimate. So please give me a chance and hear me out, especially if you are interested in buying this palette. So let's get into the review. First of all, this palette is 5 shades based on the original Star palette, and I'll show a picture of the original Star palette as well. As you can see, the 5 colors are definitely from that palette. So there is a blue-brown color, kind of like MAC blue-brown pigment, a matte brown camel shade, a shimmery rose gold, a dark matte brown, and the last one is like a green gold metallic. I love the color selection of this palette. The only thing I would have changed was I feel like everybody has matte dark brown, so I would have taken that one out and done a matte cranberry, because as you can see in the original Star palette, there was a shimmery cranberry color and a matte cranberry color, and I think you could have done a wider variety of looks. This is $25 for 5 eyeshadows. It was pretty small, but that's totally fine with me. I actually really wanted that because I have so many eyeshadow palettes. I'm not going to be finishing any of them anytime soon. I'm totally fine with smaller, more curated palettes. So like I said, I love the color scheme, except I do wish they would have put in a cranberry instead of that dark brown, but that's okay. So on the first day that I wore this palette, I loved it. I did a look, and I'll show a picture of it, with the camel brown in the crease, the rose gold on the lid, and the dark matte brown in the outer corner, and it blended like a dream. Those 3 colors are absolutely amazing. The mattes were some of the best matte eyeshadows I've ever used. I couldn't believe it, and I know a lot of people said that Natasha Denona makes really good matte eyeshadows. So I was on cloud 9 that day. I loved the look. I was so happy. I got compliments on it. It stayed looking pretty all day. The rose gold had a lot of shimmers in it, but they didn't fall out on my face throughout the day. But then it was downhill from there. But let me show you the swatches of the 5 colors. Like I said, they're pretty, but this is where you get into the problems. Those 2 shades on the outside, the blue-brown color and the green gold metallic. They look much better in these swatches than I could even get them to work on the eyes. And I had to work for these swatches. And as you can see, the green gold one looks pretty chunky. Those 2 colors were the reason I returned this palette. I could not even get them to show up on the lid. And I'm totally fine working with eyeshadows. I'm not someone who's like against wetting your brush or changing brushes or doing something different. I don't mind. Like the Jaclyn Hill Vault palette, some of those colors do require like a Fix Plus spray, and I'm totally fine with that. I can work with it. These 2 eyeshadows, I tried with a regular brush. I tried with a wet brush, and then I even tried my finger, and they wouldn't stick to the lid at all. I've never had that happen. I own 40 eyeshadow palettes, and I have never experienced this. I've tried drugstore eyeshadows. Some aren't great, but I can get them to work, you know, like a cheap Maybelline quad or whatever. Those aren't great, but hey, I can get them to work, build it up, blah, blah, blah. It works, but these 2 colors would not stick to the lid, and I tried them every which way because I wanted this palette to work for me. I wanted this palette so badly, and those 2 colors literally would not show up on the lid. So I didn't even take pictures because it would be like a little bit of shimmer from those 2 shades, and both the blue brown showed up a little bit more, but that green gold one, nothing. It just crumbled down my face. I had to take off my makeup every time I tried it. So that was a huge disappointment, and I just felt like $25 is still a lot of money for 5 eyeshadows. If this was a 10-pan palette where 2 of the shades didn't work for me, I would have kept it. I'm totally fine with that, but 2 out of 5 is almost half the palette, and they were not workable. I don't know, it's really weird. I've never had this happen, so I did return it. I feel like when half of a palette is a total fail and not usable, I did return it. I have plenty of other palettes where I don't like 1 or 2 of the shades. I've kept them, it's fine, I can work with it, but this was not workable. And I don't know, please tell me what you think. People say great things about Natasha Denona. I do not have any other Natasha Denona palettes, so I can't give you any comparisons of any kind. I saw very mixed reviews on the other mini palettes, and there were some people who did own the mini palettes and the big palettes, and they said the mini palettes weren't as good. But then other people said the mini palettes were very good. I'm talking about the mini Lila and the mini Sunset. I haven't actually seen any reviews on this because I wanted to try this out all week and give my opinion without being confused by other people, so I haven't even watched one video. Yeah, I don't know. I'm not gonna write off Natasha Denona though. I'm still interested in trying the brand because so many people say they love it. But I've seen plenty of other negative reviews on her other palettes, including the larger ones or the mini ones as well. So I'm not sure. Is the formula different from the minis to the big ones? I have no idea. Was this a batch problem? I have no idea. I bought this online the day it was released, so I didn't swatch the one in the store, so I don't know. Honestly, if I had looked in the store and if it had swatched as bad as it did, I would not have bought it, but I wanted it right away, so I ordered it the day it was released at Sephora. So that was my experience. 3 of the colors were beautiful, worked amazing. The mattes do make me want to try more matte eyeshadows from Natasha Denona, but yeah, 2 out of the 5 eyeshadows I could not even get to show up. So I'm not sure. Please let me know what you think. And please don't crucify me for returning makeup because I very rarely do it. I know there are people that abuse the system, and I know that in a lot of countries you can't even return makeup. So that was my experience. I'm very disappointed. I really wanted this palette and I really wanted a palette from Natasha Denona, and $25 versus $169 is, you know, much better, but I could not justify it. So yeah, that was my experience. Let me know pros, cons of other Natasha Denona palettes you've tried, and thank you for watching.